During her 70th birthday, the mother-in-law receives a gift from her daughter-in-law, along with a card that says, "My last gift before your coffin." Olivia had always been a strict woman, not out of coldness or a desire to control, but because she believed that love was expressed through structure, rules, and consistency. She wasn't one for easy affection or smiles, nor for emotional gestures. To her, caring meant guiding, protecting meant setting limits, and loving meant being present and firm. Widowed many years ago, she dedicated herself entirely to her son, Richard, her only child. He was her reason for living, and everything she did revolved around his education and safety. She raised him based on the values she inherited from her husband: discipline, responsibility, and respect. She tolerated no deviations and accepted no excuses. She was a serious figure with a straight posture and watchful eyes, always evaluating everything around her with a critical expression. She spoke directly, not caring to please or seek sympathy. She wasn't admired by everyone, but everyone respected her. And for her, that was enough. When Richard introduced Karen as his girlfriend, Olivia immediately felt something was wrong. The young woman was too articulate, too friendly, charming in a way that seemed rehearsed. Her constant smile made Olivia suspicious. It reminded her of faces that hide intentions. Without beating around the bush, she told her son that Karen was not the right woman for him. But Richard, grown and enamored, ignored the warning. The relationship continued. Karen began frequenting the house, always cordial, helpful, and smiling. She did everything to appear like the ideal daughter-in-law, but Olivia was not fooled. Her rejection was clear, constant, and never disguised. She tried to warn Richard several times, trying to keep him away from what she considered a trap. But the more she insisted, the more her son clung to his partner. The wedding happened inevitably. Karen became part of the routine. Olivia tried to maintain some contact out of respect for her son, but any approach was uncomfortable. Conversations were forced. Karen's gestures of affection seemed calculated. Olivia did not give in, not out of pride, but because of a growing distrust with each meeting, each carefully chosen word, each look that hid something she couldn't name but clearly felt. As months passed, Olivia remained firm, enduring that forced coexistence like someone carrying a stone in their shoe. She didn't give in, but she also didn't explode. She stored every gesture from Karen with the caution of someone analyzing an enemy. The relationship was silently tense, sustained only by the respect Olivia still had for Richard. It was in this stiff atmosphere that her 70th birthday approached, a date she herself didn't care much to celebrate, but, to her surprise, became a persistent topic in conversations with her son. "I want to organize something beautiful for you, Mom," Richard said with enthusiasm that seemed genuine. Olivia raised her eyebrows, not hiding her skepticism. "Beautiful for what? 70 isn't a milestone of victory, it's a reminder that time demands payment." Richard smiled, used to his mother's hardness. "Still, it's your life, your story. I want it to be a special day." She sighed without giving a direct answer. She didn't like celebrations, didn't see the point in displaying feelings, but she didn't want to refuse her son's gesture. Deep down, a part of her knew he needed it more than she did. What worried her was noticing, soon after, Karen's exaggerated involvement in the preparations. "I've already talked to the caterer, decorator, and florist. I thought about golden tones, which match her elegance," Karen said excitedly, talking with Richard in their living room. Olivia, sitting nearby, observed in silence. "Are you sure all this is necessary?" she asked dryly. Karen smiled, as she always did. "It's a special moment. You deserve it." Olivia held her gaze on her daughter-in-law for a few seconds, then looked away without commenting. In the following days, activity increased. Phone calls, visits from suppliers, guest lists. Olivia was informed of everything but rarely gave her opinion. The party took shape, without her feeling part of it. Karen always seemed ahead of everything, deciding details, suggesting changes, efficiently controlling every step. On the morning of the event, Olivia got ready with her usual precision. When she entered the rented hall, she was greeted with applause and smiles. Distant relatives, old friends, neighbors, all seemed genuinely happy to see her. Richard hugged her tightly, emotional. "Happy birthday, Mom. Thank you for everything." She gave a slight nod. "Thanks for remembering." During the party, many people came to greet her. She received flowers, kind words, compliments about her posture, her story, her strength. With each phrase, Olivia thanked them with minimal gestures. The recognition didn't touch her, but she noticed everyone's effort. It was a night set up to celebrate her existence, even though she didn't feel the need for it. That's when Karen approached with a gift. "A small gesture from me," she said, handing over a delicate package with a card tied with a golden ribbon. Olivia looked at the package for a few seconds before opening it. The silence around was cut by background music and scattered conversations. When she unwrapped the gift, she found a golden brooch, elegant, with a discreet and classic design. It was beautiful, but that wasn't what caught her attention. What froze her movements was the card. She opened it carefully. There was a single handwritten sentence, "My last gift before your coffin." For a moment, the world fell silent. The sound of the party became distant noise. Blood seemed to weigh heavily inside her body. She felt a sudden chill down her spine. She kept her face neutral, slowly raised her eyes and stared at Karen. Her daughter-in-law smiled as always, perfectly, without flaw. The smile didn't tremble or hesitate. There was no other way to interpret it. It wasn't a joke, it wasn't irony, it was a warning. Olivia, who knew the cost of a public scandal, decided not to react. She folded the note with the same calm she had opened it, put the brooch back in its box, and thanked her with a slight nod. "Thank you." Karen smiled once again, turned around and went back to mingling with the guests. Olivia remained seated, motionless for a few minutes. She breathed with controlled difficulty. Fear was a feeling unfamiliar to her, but now it seeped into her bones. She knew what she had read, she knew what it meant, and she also knew that from then on, nothing would be the same. She finished the party as if nothing had happened, smiled, thanked people, posed for photos, received kisses on the cheek. But inside, the alarm had been triggered. The next morning, she dressed with the same firmness as always, grabbed her purse, and went to her son's house. She rang the doorbell determinedly. Richard answered and smiled upon seeing her. "Mum, did something happen?" "Yes," she said. "I need to talk to you both." She entered without waiting for an invitation. Karen was in the living room, flipping through a magazine. "I want an explanation," Olivia said, pulling the folded note out of her purse. "Read this." Richard took the paper, read the sentence. He frowned. "What's this?" "It came with her gift," Olivia said, pointing to Karen. "At the party, handwritten." Karen looked surprised, took the note. "Is this serious? Do you really think I would write something like that?" "I don't think, I'm sure." Karen took a deep breath, like someone preparing for a performance. "This is absurd. This is made up. I would never write that." "Are you denying it?" Olivia asked, staring at her. "I am. That's a serious accusation. Why would I do something like that? Because you hate me, and it's not new." Richard stepped between them. "Enough. Mum, this is way too serious. You're telling me Karen wants to kill you? That's delusional. Do you think I made it up? Yes, or worse. I think you're obsessed. I know you never liked Karen from the start, but accusing her of this, that's unacceptable." Olivia took a step back, as if struck. "Are you on her side?" "I'm on the side of common sense. This has gone too far." "Then I have nothing left to do here. Please, go. You need to think better." Olivia left without saying another word. She walked home like someone carrying a corpse. She was wounded but not blind. She knew what she had seen, read and felt, and she knew she was alone. 2 days later, Karen showed up. She knocked on the door as if it were a routine visit. Olivia hesitated but opened. The young woman's face was different. The smile was gone. The look was direct, cold. "You won. Is that what you want to hear?" Karen said, entering without permission. Olivia said nothing. "I'm tired of pretending. You spent your life trying to keep me away from him. Now you'll pay for every word, every look, every poison. You threatened me. And I'll keep threatening. Because now no one believes you. What will you do? Destroy. First, the image you have with Richard. Then you yourself." Olivia stood straight, but her heart beat like never before. From that day on, Karen's visits became frequent, always alone. Each meeting brought new provocation, new threat. The words were sharp, elegant, full of hatred. "You're old, fragile, and no one listens to you anymore," Karen said once. "It's only a matter of time." Olivia tried to warn Richard again. She called, left messages. "Son, we need to talk. It's urgent." "No, Mom. You need help. You're getting paranoid." "She threatens me. Alone. Here." "Are you listening to yourself? This isn't healthy. You don't understand, and you won't stop. Let me live my life." Every attempt was a failure. Karen manipulated him perfectly. Olivia watched her son slip through her fingers. And now, for the first time in her life, she felt a real fear of dying. Richard's words still echoed inside her like slow poison. "You're obsessed." That hurt more than rejection. It hurt because he couldn't see, because she was alone. And now, not only alone in her distrust, but isolated in real fear, in a constant state of alert. Karen had made it clear the war was now direct. No smiles, no disguises, just threats. At night, she barely slept. She spent hours sitting at the kitchen table, staring at the note. The brooch was still in its box, intact. She couldn't touch it, not out of fear of the object, but what it symbolized. Every word in that note was a sentence. She knew Karen wasn't joking. She knew Karen was capable. What she didn't know was how far she would go. The next morning, after bitter black coffee, Olivia decided not to go to the police. She thought, weighed options, but concluded it would be useless. Karen was too manipulative, too convincing. And if Richard, her own son, already thought she was paranoid, what would a stranger say? She didn't want to risk losing the little credibility she had left. She couldn't make mistakes. She needed someone who knew her, someone who could read between the lines. She picked up the phone and dialed Elizabeth. "Elizabeth, I need to see you. Today. Now, if possible." On the other side, her friend noticed something strange in her tone. "Did something happen?" "Just tell me I can come." "You can. Come on over." Half an hour later, Olivia knocked on Elizabeth's door. The friend, a woman with gentle speech and calm gestures, opened with a cautious smile. "You look pale, Olivia." "What's wrong?" "I need to talk, but not out here." They went inside and sat in the living room. Olivia opened her purse, took out the note, the brooch's box, and began to speak. She told everything: the party, the phrase, the confrontation with Richard, the silent visits, the threats, the insults, the cold phrases. Elizabeth listened attentively, but with a slightly suspicious look. "Are you sure about all this? You know me, Elizabeth. Have you ever seen me afraid in my life?" "No." Well, now you are." Elizabeth was silent for a few seconds. Then she breathed deeply. "If what you're saying is true, then this woman is dangerous. But why would she do this?" "Because I never accepted her. Because she wants to destroy what's left of me. Because she knows I'm alone." Elizabeth nodded slowly. "Then let's do something." "What do you mean?" Let's record this. Prove it. If she shows up at your house, we'll show who she really is." In the following days, Elizabeth managed, through a trusted acquaintance, to have discreet cameras installed at strategic points in Olivia's house: entrance, living room, hallway. Everything was done quietly, without raising suspicion. Olivia lived in a state of waiting. She no longer locked the door as before. She knew Karen would return, and she wanted her to. It didn't take long. The next week, at night, the doorbell rang. "Good evening," Karen said, already entering. "What do you want now?" "To see how your paranoia is doing." Olivia didn't respond. She just crossed her arms and watched silently. Karen walked around the room, looking around with disdain. "Do you still think anyone will listen to you? Your son called you crazy. You won't win. I already have." Olivia said nothing. She just stared. Karen left without another word. But the camera recorded everything. The tone, the posture, the contempt. The footage was clear. In the following days, Karen returned several times, always alone, always cruel. Each visit brought new threats. She spoke with coldness and frightening calm. Olivia gave the videos to Elizabeth, who kept them carefully. "We have proof," she said, "but it won't help if he doesn't want to see. He will, one day." That's when Olivia decided to try one more time. She took the files, the notes, and went to Richard's house. She rang the doorbell. After a few seconds, he opened with a tired expression. "Mom, what do you want now?" "I need to show you something. Proof. It's all here. It's about Karen, what she's done." Richard sighed, rubbed his face, and shook his head. "Mom, you need help. This is going too far. This paranoia is getting worse. I already asked. Please, don't come back if it's to talk about this again." Before Olivia could say anything, he closed the door. Olivia stood still for a few seconds, then returned home. That night she didn't cry, but she was empty. Without strength, she knew she had crossed a point of no return. In the early hours, she heard footsteps. It was her, Karen. The doorbell didn't ring. She just knocked on the door firmly with her knuckles. Olivia opened. "It's your time," Karen said. "Are you going to kill me?" "Not now, but this is the last time I come. You talk too much." "Then go." "Gladly." Karen turned her back and left slowly, like closing a book. Olivia closed the door, locked it, but knew it was not protection. In the morning, she went to Elizabeth's house. "It's all here," she said, handing over a folder with videos, notes, copies. "If anything happens to me, give this to Richard." Elizabeth held the folder with both hands, confused. "What are you saying?" "Just promise." "Olivia, tell me what's going on now. You know enough." "But why the urgency?" "Because I don't have much time left." Elizabeth tried to insist, but Olivia was already standing. "Will you be okay?" "You know I won't." Olivia left, walked slowly home, feeling the weight of her own body as if each step took effort. There was no anger in her eyes, only a dense silence, almost resigned. When she entered, she carefully locked the door, but knew it was symbolic. She closed all the curtains, turned off the lights one by one, as if wanting to disappear before her time. She sat in the armchair in the living room, where she had often watched the world from outside, and stayed there, motionless. The brooch still lay in its box on the table. Nothing made sense anymore except the certainty growing in her chest. This was an end. The night passed slowly. At times, Olivia got up, went to the window, looked at the empty street, then returned and sat down again. She neither prayed nor cried. She just waited, and when her eyes finally closed from exhaustion, it was not peaceful sleep, but a brief blackout, interrupted by sounds that didn't exist and thoughts that wouldn't quiet. The next morning, even before 7, the neighbors' routine was broken. One of them, passing by Olivia's house, noticed the door slightly open, something too unusual for someone who always locked everything strictly. He called for her. Nothing. He approached, pushed the door slowly, and saw chaos spread across the living room. Objects on the floor, overturned furniture, drawers open, papers scattered. And there, fallen near the armchair, Olivia's lifeless body. Pale, cold, with signs of violence. The neighbor ran to Elizabeth's house, out of breath, pale-faced and short of breath, as if fleeing a nightmare. "Elizabeth, quick! It's Mrs. Olivia. I went in. She's fallen on the floor. I think she's dead." Elizabeth froze. The world seemed to stop for a second. No time for questions. She grabbed her keys, pushed the man aside, and ran barefoot down the street, her heart pounding in her chest. When she reached Olivia's door, she found it wide open, like never before. She took a deep breath, hesitated only for a second, and entered. The scene was a cut in time. The living room was a mess, furniture toppled, drawers open, papers scattered. And in the middle of it all, Olivia. She lay on her side near the armchair, face down. Her body didn't move. Elizabeth approached slowly, tears beginning to well up. "Olivia? Olivia, it's me." No response. Her friend's skin was cold to the touch, fingers stiff. Elizabeth stepped back, put her hand to her mouth and staggered out to the street. "Call the police. Someone, please." Residents gathered. One ran to make the call. Within minutes, the first police cars arrived. Officers surrounded the house, entered with gloves, took photos, collected belongings. Yellow tape was put up, and curious onlookers began to gather on the sidewalk. Elizabeth stood still a few meters from the entrance. One of the investigators approached. "Did you know the victim?" "She was my friend, my best friend." "Can you tell us what you know? Any reason? Anyone she was fighting with?" Elizabeth hesitated. It wasn't the time to speak. Not there. Not in the street with neighbors watching, journalists appearing in the distance. She held the folder tightly, as if protecting a secret. "She left me things. I can give them later. Today, I just want to get out of here." The officer nodded. "We'll need to speak with you again today." "I'll be available." Later, Richard arrived, notified by the police. When he got out of the car, he looked like a different man. Pale, eyes wide open, breathing short. He walked toward the house, but was stopped by an officer. "You can't enter right now. The scene is being analyzed. My mother is inside. My mother. She was found lifeless this morning. It appears to have been a robbery. The door was broken down. Some items were taken." Richard said nothing. He staggered back, leaned against the wall, and collapsed. Hands over his face, head down. "No, it can't be. Why?" Elizabeth approached slowly. She wanted to say something but didn't. She just looked at him with red eyes, full of pain and compassion. She held the truth, but knew the right moment to reveal it was still to come. Olivia was dead, but her voice had not been silenced, not completely. Time passed with the heaviness of days that never heal. Olivia's death had left deep marks, but no apparent sign of justice. The official version remained, a robbery that ended in death, a tragedy. The investigation seemed to have ended quickly and uncomfortably, and Richard, fragile and confused, accepted that narrative with disturbing passivity. He cried, yes. He mourned like any son, but silently, refusing to look back. Karen, calm, managed the household routine as if nothing had happened. She wore mourning with her usual elegance, accepted condolences with measured words, and cared for Richard with almost merciful patience. But Elizabeth couldn't sleep. The folder with videos and clear threats was still with her. Every night she reread parts of the letter Olivia had given her, watched the recordings, heard the phrase, "The end is getting closer," and felt the weight of omission. She knew formal justice would only move with concrete proof, and she also knew Richard was the key, not for the investigation, but for the truth to have a face. He needed to see. He needed to know what his mother went through. Above all, he needed to understand what he had refused to see. She waited weeks, the time needed for the house to return to routine, for the pain to cool enough to avoid impulsive reactions. She discovered Karen's schedule. She knew she spent mornings out in therapy sessions and breathing lunches, as she told a mutual friend. She chose one of those mornings, and she was not alone. Accompanied by a longtime friend who was a police officer, Elizabeth arrived at Richard's house with steady steps and eyes that no longer trembled. She rang the bell firmly. Richard answered, exhausted, with unshaven stubble and a vacant look. "Elizabeth, is everything okay?" "No, and that's why I'm here. We need to talk, now." Richard frowned, suspicious. "About what?" "It's serious. Let me in." He hesitated for a second, then opened the door wider. "Okay, come in." He looked at the man next to her, hesitant. "This is a friend, a cop. He's here to help." Richard slowly closed the door, as if he already sensed something important was about to happen. "What's this about?" Elizabeth sat in front of him and opened the folder. She took out envelopes, flash drives, papers. "It's about your mother." He looked at her tensely. "Richard, your mother wasn't killed in just any robbery. She was murdered. And we have proof." That's already been investigated. They said nothing. They covered it up. The policeman intervened. "What you're about to see is not opinion. These are records, videos, audios, notes, all documented, all coming directly from your mother." Richard said nothing. He just watched as the first video played. On screen, Karen entered Olivia's house, closed the door, walked slowly, and said, "You won't see your next birthday." Then came another video with more threats, more words, the same voice, the same coldness. Richard put his hand to his mouth, body stiffened. His hands trembled. Elizabeth placed the note on the table. The handwriting, the same style as the card that came with the brooch. "This is the same note from the party," she said. "She wrote it." Richard carefully took the paper as if it burned him. He looked, read, and his expression changed. Denial faltered. The weight of reality fell all at once. His hands could no longer hold the paper. "No, it can't be. It's her, Richard. It always was." His face turned pale, eyes lost. He tried to speak, but no words came. His breathing became irregular. His body swayed. Then he collapsed. The fainting was sudden. Elizabeth screamed. The officer ran to Richard and helped lay him on the floor while calling emergency services. Within minutes, the ambulance arrived. Richard was taken away unconscious. He woke up at the hospital hours later, pale, weak, with a lost gaze. Elizabeth was sitting by his bedside. When she saw him wake, she approached and spoke firmly. "Karen was arrested." Richard blinked slowly, trying to understand. "She confessed everything," Elizabeth continued. "Said she hired a man to break into the house, fake a robbery, and kill your mother." He turned his face slowly, staring at the ceiling. Tears began to fill his eyes. The motive was clear. The proof. She knew she was about to lose control. She needed to silence Olivia before you believed her. Richard said nothing, mouth slightly open, gaze fixed. "The police found out during interrogation that she has severe psychiatric disorders. The report was clear." Elizabeth then took an envelope from her purse. It was the same envelope Olivia had given her before her death. "Before she died, your mother wrote this. It's for you." Richard took the envelope with fragile fingers, opened it slowly. It was a letter, Olivia's handwriting. He recognized it immediately. Richard, if you're reading this, it's because I'm no longer here. Maybe now you'll believe me. Maybe now you can hear me. All this time I tried to protect you, not out of pride, not out of whim, but because I love you. I tried, in every way. But I failed, and now you need to know, she always wanted to get rid of me. That's why I fought. That's why I insisted. And even if you didn't believe me, I forgive you, because I understand your blindness, because I was a mother, because I know what it is to love so deeply that pain becomes part of love. Everything I did was for you. Even at the end, I loved you. Richard held the letter to his chest. He cried. He cried like a lost boy, like someone seeing his mother leave for the second time, like someone finally feeling absence, not as grief, but as sentence. The truth had already broken the silence, too late for Olivia, too soon for the weight Richard now carried. He did not attend the trial. He didn't want to know the details of the process or the stages of the trial. He ignored letters from lawyers, refused to answer calls, and remained unreachable by the press. The only response he gave was silence. He quit his job, cut ties, closed accounts, sold his car, rented a small, remote house in a place where no one knew him and where he could simply disappear. And he disappeared. Elizabeth managed to find him once, months later. The house was dark, with windows covered by heavy curtains. The air was dense, stagnant. Richard sat in an armchair by the window, motionless. He had lost weight. His face looked carved by guilt. His deep-set eyes barely responded to anything. The only trace of memory was the little gold medal hanging around his neck, the same one Olivia wore every day. "Are you taking care of yourself?" Elizabeth asked cautiously. He didn't answer with words. He only nodded slightly. His body was there, but it seemed the rest of him had already gone. Richard didn't read, didn't watch, didn't talk. He spent his days sitting, staring outside, looking into emptiness, as if waiting for the pain to make sense at some point. But it didn't. The diagnosis came later, inevitable, severe depression, but he refused any treatment. He said there was no medicine for that the pain didn't come from loss, it came from guilt, from blindness, from denial. From the silence, he offered his mother while she cried out for help. Justice was done in court. Karen was convicted. She would spend decades behind bars. But real justice, the one Olivia needed, the one that would have protected her in life, didn't arrive in time. And Richard, the son she loved so much, spent the rest of his life not just missing her, but with something worse, absence as punishment. His mother's memory was not remembrance, it was sentence. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, give it a like, and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. See you in the next story.